Well, not in this video, but I am making a beautiful hexagonal box. In this video, we will see that I had to change the project I was working on. To cut the pieces, I will use an adjustable miter box and a Japanese saw. To make the hexagons, I need to cut 60-degree miter angles. So I will set these two pieces at a 120-degree angle. The faces of this piece are perfectly parallel. Here, I have the 60 degrees of the square. I adjust 60 degrees like this. I set another 60 degrees on the other side. And that way, I can set this piece at 120 degrees to the first one. These are the angles that form the sides of the hexagon. That's exactly 120 degrees, 60 degrees, plus 60 degrees. And now, I adjust the miter box against them. And lock it in place. This way we have the exact 60 degrees needed to cut the miter angles on the hexagon pieces. One side is planed and perfectly straight. The other is not planed. It is important to place the straight edge of the wood on the miter box. I roughly mark where I will cut. I hold the piece in place. And now I can make the first miter cut. This is oak wood, and it is quite hard. And on top of that, we will see later a problem I didn't notice. All right, I already made a miter cut on the 6 pieces I need. Now I will make the other miter cut on them. I place the saw there, leveled and against the vertical rods, against the rods on the side where I will place the pieces to cut. This will be the stop block. I insert the metal ruler between the stop and the lateral guide of the box, and I bring it right up to the blade. I have to slide the stop to the measurement I want to cut. I remove the ruler carefully, making sure I do not move the stop block sideways. And I clamp the stop block. I cut this test piece like this, just like I cut the pieces of the hexagon. I turn it like this, place it against the stop, and cut it. I check that the measurement is correct, and now I can cut the other pieces. But later, we will see a problem I haven't noticed so far. Then I cut the pieces like this. Now I place them like this on the other side, and against the stop. And now I can make the other 60-degree cut. I need to keep checking the vertical angle. And now I realize that, well, the measurement I wanted was for the interior. The exact one I calculated to fit a metal Beatles plate inside the hexagon. But I adjusted it for the exterior, and this is not the only issue that led me to make the beautiful hexagonal box. Well, of course I decided to finish making this hexagon. I forgot to make one piece, but no problem. I simply readjust the stop this easily. Look at that. Perfect. Now I have cut the 6 pieces I need. It looks like I won't have problems forming and gluing the hexagon. Well, I also want to make a wider hexagon, and this adjustable miter box, well, let's see if I can cut this wider pieces. Alright, a very acceptable cut. But let's look at some small problems. Sometimes the cut turns out a bit off. I also noticed this on the narrower pieces, but in those it's hardly noticeable. What I discovered is that when I cut with my left hand, the cut shifts. But when cutting with my right hand, the cut turns out much better, and it is not an issue with one of the fences of the miter box. I'm just a little less skilled with my left hand. Well, the biggest problem with the tall pieces is that I didn't notice that this wood is warped, and they didn't rest well against the fences of the miter box. Look there at how noticeable the curve is. Here I go again, cutting with my left hand. This time it was way off. The expected deviation given how warped the wood is. Almost 2 millimeters of difference. The problem is that I don't have more wood to make another piece. Well, what can I do? I decided to adjust the stop block to trim the pieces a little. But this time I will make all the cuts with my right hand. Much better. I trimmed the 6 pieces this way. And now, here I have the pieces of the hexagons held together with strap clamps. The small hexagon won't give me any trouble, but the big one is tightly held with 2 strap clamps. Notice how I shimmed the center of all the joints. And I have the straps very, very tight to try to straighten the wood's curvature. After 2 days, the pieces still haven't straightened enough, but I'm going to sand them now, with medium, fine, and very fine grit sandpaper. And I will finish by hand with a very fine foam sanding block. Now I tighten them again shimming the pieces with cardboard in the middle of the joints. Yes, I tightened them very hard. The idea was to leave them like this so the wood would straighten over time. When the wood is straightened, the joints will be fine. All right, I have done some work on them that we will see shortly. My first idea was to use the large hexagon to make a wall shelf. But notice that I made a groove on the inside. I wanted to use the narrow pieces to make a frame for the Beatles plaque, but as we saw, I made the pieces a bit short because I didn't pay attention. I decided that in another video, I will make a round frame for the metal plate, In my other channel without comments. I will have to cut the pieces flat on the adjustable miter guide, and we will see how to make the frame circular. I still haven't figured that out. On these pieces, I made a rebate and a groove. In an upcoming video, we will see how I made these grooves and the rebate, and we will see how I will turn these two hexagons into a beautiful wooden hexagonal box. Thank you for watching the video. And if you like my videos, thanks for subscribing, and hit the bell.